Hey, welcome back. So we are getting really close to my very first track day with the FL5 Type R, and there's a couple things I want to do to prepare for it. And one of those things is going to be installing a turbo blanket for the hot side of the turbo, because as many of you know, the intake of the Type Rs runs over and across the hot side of the turbo into the cold side. But this should help us with hopefully some cooler intake temps and just managing the heat in the engine bay altogether. I have ran this in multiple cars. I've ran it on my FK8, the 11th Gen SI, and now I'm gonna run it on my 11th Gen Type R. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some footage right now of what it looks like without a turbo blanket, so you can see the different hot spots in the engine bay. This is a FLIR camera that I bought for my phone, so it might not be the most accurate, but it kind of gives you a representation of what the heat temps are going to be. It was still a very expensive FLIR camera specifically to make these videos, so I hope you guys can appreciate that. I'm trying to show you, trying to illustrate to you the difference as much as possible. So there's not much to this. There's not much of an unboxing. All you get is the turbo blanket and some safety wire, and the safety wire is just gonna be what holds this into place. I think you can get some springs that attach to these and help hold it in. I don't know if it does a better job, but it's definitely a more convenient thing to have. I didn't choose to have the springs, I didn't buy them. I did have issues with them when I had this on my FK8, but I'm just gonna use the safety wire that's provided when you buy this. But yeah, let's get started. So we're not gonna need many tools to get this job done. We are gonna need one special tool, and that's gonna be this oxygen sensor removal tool. It's a 7/8, and you can rent this from AutoZone or some of the other stores like that. It's not too expensive to rent. It is very expensive to buy. But unless you find yourself taking O2 sensors off on and on multiple times, you don't really need to buy it. But if you work on your car a lot like I do, you probably want to buy one for yourself. It's very convenient to have, and you don't have to go to the store all the time. But other than that, you're going to need a 12mm, and it's going to be two 12mm bolts, and then the oxygen sensor we have to remove to get the heat shield off, and that way we can access the hot side of the turbo. So yeah, let's just do that. Okay, I'm gonna start with the two 12mm bolts. Okay, so now for the O2 sensor, I went ahead and removed this connector. You just gotta lift up on this little tab to pull it out. It's kind of a pain, but we want to remove that so that way we don't get it all tangled up. Now we can go ahead and take this out. Okay, so you gotta remember that these O2 sensors do deal with a lot of heat, so they are kind of a pain to get off. God bless. Ooh. So yes, be prepared for that. Okay, so there is one more 12mm that we need to remove, and it's underneath the inlet pipe. I'll be honest, I forgot all about it, but I was trying not to take the inlet pipe off, but I don't think there's any way around it. So looks like it's gonna be a little bit more in depth than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. Taking the inlet pipe isn't all that hard, especially on this car. There's a lot more room to work with than the 10th gens. So yeah, let's just remove the inlet pipe and get to that bolt. So there's 2 bolts holding this harness on. It's gonna be 1 bolt right here and 1 bolt right there. I know it's a little difficult to see, but we need to remove those. And then there's 2 bolts that actually hold the inlet pipe to the inlet of the turbo. And then there's gonna be, it looks like 1 10 mil right there holding this part in. And hopefully that's all we need to remove that. And then there is these right here. And then there's this right here, this one right here, and that one right there that hold this. I believe it's a coolant line. I'm not too sure about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. To remove the pipe from that line. And then we can remove the inlet pipe. Of course, you have to remove the actual coupler from this pipe, and we can pull it out. Okay, now I'm gonna do this top one. Now I'm gonna loosen this clamp. Okay, or not. And finally, I'm gonna try and get to the bolts for the inlet pipe. It's gonna be a little difficult, but I think we can do it. Okay, so to access the bolts, it might help to disconnect the electronic wastegate and kind of move this harness out of the way. You can undo this little vacuum line. To get this out of the way a little bit better. Okay. I believe it's a 12 millimeter. We're about to find out. It is in fact a 12 mil. Be careful not to drop the hardware like I did. And now it's forever gone. All I gotta say is thank goodness for magnets. Okay, next up is gonna be the last bolt. And it's probably going to be a pin. There we go. I always like to leave it at least one thread in and then undo it with my finger if I can, and then pull it out with my hand. That way it doesn't fall all the way down. Doesn't always work out with every bolt, but it worked out for that one. And with that being said, we can go ahead and remove this giant thing. Okay, so I'm just removing the clamp altogether. Or at least loosening it all the way. Sheesh, there we go. Okay, there is a metal gasket, so be careful not to mess that up in any way or lose it. You do want to put that back on. So there it is, all out. And then here's the metal gasket. Just put that back right there. So now I'm going to feed the safety wire where I know these are gonna sit. I'm not gonna cut any of this. I'm not gonna chop any of this film because I want you guys to see how I do it, and you know, I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything or make things look easier than what they actually are or harder than what they actually are. So you see one side is through. Now the other side. What else would probably help if you got some long pliers like these to grab down in those small areas. I mean, I don't know if I'll need it, but this thing is kind of a pain. Sorry if this part of the video is long. I'm just trying to show you guys that it's not always as easy as it looks. Okay. Safety wire is where you want it to be running down at the bottom. It can travel through different areas, so just make sure. You also don't want it to be running in front of these bolts, right? Because when you go take the downpipe off, it's just gonna make that much harder. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Now pull this through. Go. Okay. So that's pretty on there. All right, now that these are run all the way through, we can begin to tie these up. If you have a downpipe to install, it's probably best if you do this with the downpipe install. Just you know, just a tip in case you're planning on doing a downpipe. It'll probably make doing this a lot easier. I'm gonna twist this so that way it's tight. Okay. Once you get it twist on that end, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. You know what to do. Just twist it, grab onto it, and then if you want to close the gap, do a couple around the world type things to make it tighter around where it obviously ties around to. Not too tight because you can break the safety wire. Okay. There we go. Same thing for the other side. All right. There we go. Now we just gotta cut the safety wire and pigtail it. bend it. There we go. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, this turbo blanket does cover the 12 mil that goes to that heat shield. So yeah, you're not gonna be able to use that. Plus, we don't really wanna use it because if we ever wanna take off the downpipe, you would also have to take off the inlet pipe, and that's annoying. So I don't care that we don't get to use it. You could poke a hole in there if that 12 mil means that much to you, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so I was not able to put on the bottom bolt right there and the one over there. So it's just held on by really the O2 sensor, kinda, sorta, and then that bolt on the side right there. I think once I install the aftermarket downpipe, I'll show you guys that real fast. This downpipe doesn't have any, well, holes for the heat shield. So once I install this downpipe, I will no longer be using that heat shield. Instead, I'll just be relying on the turbo blanket and probably some lava wrap for the downpipe to kind of maintain the heat in the engine bay. But I want to see what happens when I run both the turbo blanket and the heat shield and kind of see how our intake types may or may not benefit. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Okay, so it's actually been quite a few months since I started this video, so please bear with me. I've been really busy. I've taken the car out to the track about twice already, and I've been running, obviously I've had the turbo blanket on the entire time, and I think for the most part that it has made a significant difference as far as intake temps go and just kind of keeping the heat where it's supposed to be, and that's on the hot side of the turbo. So daily driving, it's kind of hard to really gauge how much it's doing because the weather here in Texas has been kind of all over the place. 3 months ago or 4 months ago, I forget how long ago I actually installed this, you know, the weather was kind of changing here in Texas. It could be cool one day or scalding hot the next, and right now in Texas it's August, the beginning of August, so we're above 100 degrees every single day, and it's hard to really tell how beneficial the turbo blanket is when it's so hot outside. But for the most part, when I first did it, unfortunately I didn't record anything, but going through my daily drives either to work or to the store or whatever, there was about a 5 to 10 degree difference. I did get some of the FLIR video to kind of show you the before and after, but as far as like what the car was reading, unfortunately I was too busy to really record that. But I highly recommend turbo blankets for you guys because I've ran them in multiple cars. My FK8, the previous SI, and now my FL5, you know, I keep buying them for whatever reason. Yes, PRL did send me the turbo blanket, but it wasn't like a full, completely free thing. They gave me like a slight discount, just full disclosure, but I still paid to have the turbo blanket. I paid for them the past 2 times that I used them, and I'll keep paying for them in the future because I think they're really beneficial for the car, especially since the is right underneath the intake pipe. So that's enough. That makes enough sense for me to always purchase them when we're talking about these newer engines from Honda. But yeah, I mean, the car is doing great. We got some great videos coming up. I'm falling incredibly behind, but I mean, here's my engine bay. You can see that we have the strut bar installed. We have the stage 1 intake from PRL. That should be out here soon, hopefully maybe when I post this video or shortly after. But yeah, I'm running the heat shield in conjunction with the turbo blanket for as much heat protection as possible. I think the combo really makes a difference. I am unfortunately only able to use about, I think, only 1 bolt. Yeah, because the turbo blanket covers 2 bolt holes. The only place that the heat shield could really mount to is on the downpipe, stock downpipe, and it's right there. So that one right there. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but anyways, yeah, I mean, we got stage 1 intake, strut bar, turbo blanket, a couple other stuff. As you guys can see, we have new 18-inch wheels that are going on soon. Go ahead, let me know what you think they are. Unless you follow me on Instagram, then you already know what they are. We have the exhaust right there, new tires, really a lot. There's gonna be a lot coming for this car in the near future. I'm really excited about it. My plan is to be competing next year in some time trials, really the whole season if I can, and seeing how well the car does. As you can see, the tiny stock intercooler is out, and we have the PRL intercooler installed. Pretty significant difference, to be honest, and it made a huge difference on the track. The car just held its power throughout the entire track day, unlike before when it started getting hot. The power in the car, you could feel that it started to die off a little bit. So intercooler, probably the best thing that you can do for these cars, on top of, you know, turbo blanket, really anything to manage heat on the car, especially when you're driving in a hot state like me. We get 100, almost 100, like it's like 108. It's been 108, 107 for the past 2 weeks here. Really, I don't really know if it's been the past 2 weeks. It's like probably the past month, 2 months that it's been here. It's been over 100 degrees. So definitely recommend those. Videos on all this stuff is coming soon, so please make sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for always supporting the channel. There's gonna be links down below for you to use if any of the stuff that I showed you interests you. But yeah, I do make commission off some of this stuff. You know, I always try to be as transparent with you guys as possible, but it doesn't really affect the way that I work on my car. This is an investment. I want to put the best possible parts on my car. So yeah, I'm not gonna sell you guys on something that I'm not fully back, that I don't fully back, because, well, it just doesn't feel right. So if you enjoyed this, please smash the like button, consider subscribing if you're new here, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.